Hello everybody, welcome to your class today. What we're going to talk about today are more inequalities, except for today when we solve our inequalities, they're going to be two-step, they could be multi-step, or they could have variables on both sides. So now, remember back to when we solved equations. First we did one-step equations, then we did two-step equations, then we did multi-step equations, then we did equations with variables on both sides. So we're going through those same progressions now, except for with inequalities. So let's see how we do on this. The first inequality that we're given is 8 minus 3y is greater than or equal to 29. Okay, so I'm going to solve this inequality to figure out what my solution set would be. First thing I need to do, get my variable all alone. I need to get that y by itself. So I need to move the 8 over to the other side. Well, it's a positive 8, so I do that by subtracting 8 to both sides. And I'm left with a negative 3y is greater than or equal to 21. Now, to get y by itself, y is being multiplied by negative 3, so I do the opposite, which is divide by a negative 3. But what did I just do? I divided each side of the inequality by a negative. What happens when we divide by a negative? We learned this last lesson. We have to switch our inequality. So instead of a greater than or equal to, I'm now going to have a less than or equal to. 21 divided by negative 3 is negative 7. Now when I graph my solution set, my critical point is negative 7. I put points smaller and larger than negative 7. Now I need to decide what kind of dot it's going to be. I know that my dot is going to be a filled-in dot because of this equal to symbol. And I also know that I want values that are less than that, so I need to shade less than. Okay, now I'm going to test a number and make sure that this is true. So if I plug in, let's see, a number smaller than negative 7 would be like negative 9. So if I plug that into my inequality, I have 8 minus 3 times negative 9, and I want to make sure that is greater than or equal to 29. Okay, well, negative 3 times negative 9, that gives me a positive 27. So 8 plus 27, is that greater than or equal to 29? Yes, it is. That is true. So I know I've shaded the right solution set. My answer to this inequality would be all real numbers less than or equal to negative 7. Make that true. Here's the next one. X plus 5 divided by negative 2 is greater than 3. All right, now I need to get my variable all alone. Right now that x is being divided by negative 2. How do we undo division by negative 2? We multiply each side by negative 2. What did I just do? I multiplied by a negative. What does that mean for my inequality? It flips. Instead of greater than, it's now going to be less than. My negative 2's cancel, so I'm left with x plus 5 is less than 3 times negative 2, negative 6. Subtract 5 to each side, and I get x is less than negative 11. I need to graph that solution on my number line. Am I going to have an open or closed dot? Open, because it's just strictly less than. It's not less than or equal to. So would negative 11 make that true? No, negative 11 is not a solution. However, let's make sure negative 12 is. If I put in negative 12 for x, negative 12 plus 5, divide that by negative 2. I want to make sure that's greater than 3. Okay, negative 12 plus 5 is negative 7 over negative 2. Is that greater than 3? Negative divided by negative is a positive. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. Is 3.5 greater than 3? Yes, that is true. Moving on. Here, I have a number outside of parentheses. What does that mean? What am I going to have to do with that negative 4? I'm going to have to distribute. This is distributive property. Negative 4 times 2 gives me negative 8. Negative 4 times a negative x, negative times a negative gives me a positive 4x, is less than or equal to 8. Add 8 to each side. I'm trying to get that variable x all alone. So 4x is less than or equal to 16. 4 is being multiplied by x, so the opposite of that is to divide each side by 4. My 4's cancel, and I'm left with x is less than or equal to 4. Put it on a number line. My critical point is 4. A number smaller than 4 is 3. A number larger than 4 is 5. Open or closed dot, guys? Closed, because it is equal to. And I want all numbers less than that, so I need to shade to the left. Let's test it and make sure. If I plug in 3, because 3 is in my solution set, I should have -4 times 2 minus 3. Is that less than or equal to 8? -4 times 2 minus 3, which is -1. Is it less than or equal to 8? Well, -4 times -1 is 4, and that is correct. If I test 5, this number right here, 5, that's not in my solution set, I should get something that is not true. All right, here's a word problem. To rent a certain vehicle, Rent a Ride charges $55 per day with unlimited miles. The cost of renting a similar vehicle at We Got Wheels is $38 per day plus 20 cents per mile. For what number of miles is the cost at Rent a Ride less than the cost at We Got Wheels? All right, so I'm wanting to see when is Rent a Ride less than We Got Wheels. So on my left-hand side, I'm going to have Rent a Ride, and then I'm going to have a less than sign, and then I'm going to have We Got Wheels. So Rent a Ride, it told me charges $55 per day with unlimited miles. All right, so $55 per day. The cost of renting a similar vehicle at We Got Wheels is $38 per day plus 20 cents per mile. All right, so Rent a Ride is just $55. That's all there is to it, 55. The other company is 38 plus 20 cents every mile. So I want to see when is Rent a Ride going to be less than, because right now it seems like it's more since their fee per day is so much higher. But let's see how many miles you need to ride in order to make Rent a Ride cheaper. So first thing I'm going to do, I need to subtract 38 to each side. Okay, now whenever I subtract this, I get 17 is less than 0.20 m. Okay, 20 cents. Now I need to divide each side by 0.20, and now I'm going to, all right, so whenever I divide this out, 17 divided by 0.20, I get 85 is less than m. So what that's saying is if you go any miles greater than 85, it's going to be cheaper to go with Rent a Ride. If you do anything less than 85 miles, though, you would want to stick with We Got Wheels. All right, so for what number of, we would say 85 miles. All right, next one, oh goodness, what do we have here? We have variables on both sides. I see y is less than or equal to 4y plus 18. All right, now, I need to get all my variables to one side. Remember, you guys have a choice which side you get your variables on. Okay, now here, I'm going to, since I only have one thing on the left-hand side, that y, I'm going to go ahead and move my 4y over to that side, even though it's going to end up with a negative variable. The 18 is going to be all alone on the right side, and that's good. So let's just go ahead and do this. We can deal with the negative. Y minus 4y. Remember that y is a 1y. 1y minus 4y is negative 3y. Is less than or equal to 18. Now I need to divide each side by the negative 3 to get my y variable all alone. I just divided by a negative. That means I have to flip my inequality. You have to be really careful and make sure you don't forget to do that. Now when I graph my solution, let's see here, open or closed dot. Closed, that is going to be pointing to the right. I'm going to shade all the values that are greater than -6. A number that's greater than -6 that would be easy to test would be the number 0 way over here. So let's test it. Is 0 less than or equal to 4 times 0 plus 18? Well, 4 times 0 is 0, so 18 is 0 less than 18. That is true, so I know I've shaded the right area. All right, the home cleaning company charges $312 to power wash the siding of a house, plus $12 for each window. So it's $312 plus 12 per window. Power Clean, a different company, charges $36 per window, and the price automatically includes the power washing the siding. How many windows must a house have to make the total cost from the home cleaning company less expensive than power clean? So I'm going to have home cleaning less than power clean. Well, home cleaning says that it charged $312 to power wash just the siding, plus $12 for each window. And I want to know, when is that amount going to be less than the $36 per window that Power Clean charges? Remember, Power Clean does not charge an additional fee for the siding, so they just have the 36W on their side. Okay, now I'm going to solve this. I'm going to move the 12W over to get all my variables on one side. So I have 312 is less than or equal to 36 minus 12 gives me 24W. Okay, now I need to divide each side by 24, and now I'm going to need to figure out what 312 divided by 24 is. Okay, so I can see that 312 divided by 24 is going to give me 13, is less than or equal to W. Now, if I rewrote that with the variable on the left, just because I think it's easier to read, it would say W is what? Okay, notice where the mouth is. The mouth is pointing to the W, so when I rewrite it, the mouth still needs to be pointing to the W. W is greater than or equal to 13. So if you have more than or equal to 13 windows, it's going to be cheaper to go with the home cleaning company because they're on the left. Okay, so if you have 13 or greater than windows, you want to choose the home cleaning company. Otherwise, you would want to choose the window Power Clean company. All right, next one, guys. We have 4M minus 3 is less than 2M plus 6. Let's solve this. What side do we want to get our variables on? Again, it doesn't matter, but I think it's easiest if we move the smaller number over. So I'm going to subtract 2M to each side. 4M minus 2M gives me 2M minus 3 is less than 6. Now I need to add 3, and I get 2M is less than 9. Divide each side by 2, and I get M is less than 9 halves. Okay, that's all right. We can have a fraction. Don't turn it to a mixed number. We don't really need a mixed number. Well, it will be helpful to have a mixed number to know where that falls on the number line. 9 halves is equivalent to what? Yeah, 4 1/2. So if I have 4 1/2 here, a number smaller than that would be 4, and a number larger than that would be 5. All right? Now, what am I going to want to do here? I'm going to want to decide if I have an open or closed dot. I have strictly less than. So strictly less than just means an open dot. And I have everything that is less than that. So I'm going to shade to the left. Now I'm going to test that and make sure I did it correctly. And I shaded the correct area. If I have 4 part of my solution set, 4 times 4 minus 3 needs to be less than 2 times 4 plus 6. 4 times 4, 16. Minus 3, is that less than 8 plus 6? 16 minus 3 is 13. Is 13 less than 8 plus 6, which is 14? Yes, that is true. All right. Oh, we are finished. Hopefully solving two-step, multi-step, and variables on both sides with inequalities makes sense to you all. We will practice tomorrow. Have a good night.